Hey y'all, it's your girl Lisa. Welcome back to the Live with Purpose podcast. Woo! It's been a minute. If you listen to season 1, it's been quite some time. I think it's actually been about a full year since we've had a podcast episode. So here we are with season 2. And I'm here to talk about a lot of things. But before we get there, I want to start with saying more about myself in case this is your first time listening. So as I said, my name is Lisa. The biggest thing you need to know about me is I'm a big fan of God. He's that guy, and I feel really called to, led to sharing what he's doing in my life, what he's doing in the lives of people who I get to talk to and get to interact with, because the Bible say we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony, which is great. But what does that really mean? To me, what that really means is we got to talk to each other. We got to share what we've been through, what we're going through, and build each other up. And also, life ain't easy. And sometimes we act like it is, or like, oh, because I have God, life is so easy. As a Christian, life gets easier. Yes, it's easier than doing it by yourself, but it's not easy by any means. We still go through the same issues. We still struggle with the same things. We just got a source to help us through it. And also, life is not boring as a Christian. And I think sometimes people try to make it seem that way. It's super not. I have a lot of fun all the time. And I think that more people have fun being a Christian than they let on because of this, that, or the third. But I'm about to bring on some people who live their lives having fun and being Christians, and me, myself, having fun being a Christian. So there'll be some solo episodes like this one, and then there'll be some episodes with some of my friends who come through. And it's just going to be a good time. We're going to vibe and have a good time. So I hope when you listen, that's how you feel, that you're having fun, you feel related to, and you walk away with a little, something to get you through your life, through whatever you're going through. And that's my biggest hope. There's more to know about me, obviously, as any person has a lot of layers. But I feel like throughout the course of this podcast, you'll learn a lot. So that's about me. Is we here to talk about God. I like talking about God. And yeah, that's me. So I want to start every episode asking people, what is it that life is teaching you? What is God teaching you? All that good stuff. And for me right now, it's really that I have nothing stopping me. I have everything I need to do what God has called me to do in this season. It's really me that's standing in my own way, which once I came to that realization, I was kind of mad because I was like 0 stars. It's one thing when you have external factors, but when you're the problem, it's me. Hi, I'm the problem, it's me. That's frustrating because you're just like, girl, don't you want us to win? Or why not? And you can say you want yourself to win. You can say you want yourself to go to the next level, but are you acting like it? And when I came to the problem being me, I was like, all right, let's get some things out of that way. So this podcast itself probably should have been started, not probably, was supposed to be started months ago. But here we are now, and God's giving us grace, second chances, but we're also not going to waste this second chance. So we're coming correct. We're doing our best. And I'm so excited to be back here, back at it. And it's going to be amazing. It's going to be fun. And the big topic I want to talk about today was who hurt you. When you hear someone say, who hurt you? We often say it as a joke and stuff, but for real, who hurt you? Where did this start at? Because like I said, I've been internally going through things where I'm like, girl, why did you react like that? Or girl, why don't you go after the things that you want? Or why do you feel like you're not capable of something? I've really been thinking about that. And it kind of stems from either something that someone else did to me years ago that I have to trace it back to, or no one did anything. You just made up in your head what really happened. Let me elaborate. We'll go with the whole something happened to me a long time ago and now I'm still a little scarred. We're still working from it. Trauma, if you will. So I used to work in this working environment that was super toxic. I'm talking about I was fat shamed. I'm talking about just verbally, my boss was the worst. So I worked in this environment, and I haven't worked there in like 5-6 years. Wait, 3 years? 4 years, sorry. I haven't worked there for 4 years. Or was it 5? It was 4 years. I haven't worked there for 4 years, and still, like, some stuff still carries over into my current work situation. I currently work in a very healthy environment. The healthiest work environment I've ever been in. I work in ministry, and I've been told that even where I work is the healthiest ministry that people have been in. If people who have been in ministry for 10 years, they're like, yeah, this is the healthiest environment I've ever worked in still. And I, for some reason, would carry over the fear I had from that old job, and fear of like getting things wrong out of being afraid of being verbally like abused or fired or whatever. I would carry that into this job where nothing is like, it's not that bad. Like, it's literally no one's going to react the same way my old boss reacted. But I was like, once I realized that, like, this is the root of that trauma. Like, this is the root of where you're afraid to get things wrong because you think you'll get fired, or where you're afraid to disappoint your boss by simple human mistakes. Simple human mistakes I would be afraid to make because of the past environment I worked in. But I was applying that past environment to this environment. And like I told y'all, it's been 4 or 5 years since I worked there. But somehow I'm still carrying it into this environment. And first of all, that's not fair to my new situation. Nor is it fair to me. Like, I'm in a beautiful, thriving place. Yet, I'm still scared, or I'm still holding back, or I'm still acting nervous because of a previous work environment. So that's just a practical example. And from a practical standpoint, I would be afraid to speak up about certain things, or afraid to be bold in certain areas. And that's just like not it, and not at all what was supposed to be meant for me. But from a spiritual standpoint, I really also thought about like how I haven't really exposed at the time, I wasn't really exposing myself to letting God do a new thing. If you're so caught up in what happened to you before, you can't be open to the new thing that God is trying to do. Like, the Bible says, behold, I do a new thing. Shall you not perceive it? Like, it's happening right in front of you. Shall you not perceive it? You can't see what's new if you're so focused on the past. Whew. There it is. I just found the point of everything I've just been saying. If you're so consumed by the trauma of before that you can't embrace the beauty of what's now, like, you're not letting yourself let God do a new thing. And you're internalizing it. And that's the other thing that's crazy, is when trauma happens to us, like, we don't even fully recognize it or recognize the hold that it has on us. We're just kind of like thinking that we're over it because we're not physically in that situation anymore, but still carrying it. And so people, my leaders that I have at work, had to point out, like, you kind of act like you're nervous about certain things, or you kind of do this, you kind of do that. And like, I had to think, where does that even come from? Because I didn't recognize I was doing it. But when I had to recognize where it came from, I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. And now I've been at this new job for a year now, and it even took me, and there's still even pieces of it still left. I didn't realize how much that previous job had affected me so deeply that literally to this day, I'm still working past it. And then you think, I don't want to let nobody have all that power. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that boss don't mean nothing while I'm still hung up on it. That's what made me mad initially. But then I really thought about it. Like, it wasn't about the person who did this to me. It was about the things I let that situation tell me about myself. So, again, I'm going to reference the Bible. I told y'all I'm going to do that. Bible says we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers. So whatever was in my old boss that allowed her to shame me, to make me feel like I was small, made me feel like I wasn't smart, make me feel like I was always messing up, I then internalized that and was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm not smart. I don't know what I'm talking about. I like mess up all the time and I'm going to get fired. if I do this, if I do that, like all those things that I internalize are really what the problem was. It has nothing to do with the person who was my boss. Literally nothing to do with her. It's all me at that point. And so then I thought to myself, Lisa, in this new environment, why can't you see it right? Like, why can't you see where you are and see what's actually happening? And what it really was is that I didn't put the right lens on the situation because all I could see was through the past lens that I had. If you can't see yourself properly, it's hard to see your situation properly. So if I'm walking around thinking, wow, I'm incompetent, wow, I can't do this, oh my gosh, I'm not smart enough for this, I don't know what I'm talking about. If I'm walking around thinking that, people are going to be able to tell. I know we think we're good at putting on a front. We're honestly not. People can tell. Spoiler alert. Someone needed to hear that because you think you're doing a good job hiding it. I thought I was too. I was not. People can see it. And rather than trying to put on a front like, oh, I'm fine, like, oh, I'm that girl, or whatever, why not actually like work on how you see yourself and change your view on yourself? And that's something that I've been coming to and really trying to perfect. It's how do I see myself? And that honestly has to flow from how does God see me? God created me. Literally, people use this analogy all the time, talking about how you wouldn't go to an Android store to figure out how your Apple phone works. Like my iPhone, I'm going to take it to the Apple store because that's where they manufacture it. As a human who God created, I can't go to a self-help book written by another person to find out who I am. Now I can find principles from it and ideas from it, but ultimately to find out who I am, I need to go to the one who created me and go directly to him. Because of course there are things I can learn from other people who can build up that idea, but if I'm so focused on what do other people say I am, who do other people say I am, and it's not confirmed by God, it's not backed up by God, doesn't make any sense. Like my previous job, that job told me you are incompetent and you kind of don't know what you're talking about. But this job is not telling me that because God has never said, like literally that is not what God speaks over us. God only speaks good words over us. Now he gives us ways we can improve, but he only speaks good words over us. Like literally we are fearfully, wonderfully made, all that good stuff. He only speaks a better word. So anytime you hear negative thoughts about yourself, super not God. And sometimes not always the enemy. Sometimes it's you. Sometimes you are the worst to yourself. Sometimes you've decided these things about yourself. The enemy didn't have to say it because he put you in a situation where you then decided that that was the truth about yourself. Fully. So that's the thing about when we have trauma and we're healing from it and overcoming it and embracing something new. So yeah, sometimes who hurt you can be another person. Sometimes the who hurt you can be yourself. Huh? This is the conversation we don't want to have. Sometimes you did it yourself. I remember I had this huge crush on this guy. And I was like, all right, he's the one. Pack it up, everybody. We found him. And I had decided that he was like literally my husband. I had decided that we were going to get married, all this good stuff, created this whole reality in my head. And whenever he wouldn't live up to that, my feelings would get hurt. So for example, we would say we're going to talk on the phone. If he doesn't call me, if he doesn't hit me up, then I have decided that, oh, he doesn't even care about me as a person. He's the worst. Now, was he probably being not the best friend? Yeah, but in my head, I had not even just put him in the category of boyfriend, which he wasn't. I had put him in the category of husband. Girl, you did that to yourself. Like, you hurt your own feelings in that situation. And I think when we put these, especially unspoken expectations are the best way to hurt your own feelings. If you've never read Don't Settle for Safe by Sarah Jakes Roberts, that is the first book I read. First of all, the first self-help book I read. Second of all, when I read that, she really talks about like the power of unspoken expectations, like not in the best way. And that really spoke to me because I think we so often put expectations on situations and on people that were never meant to be put there. So then when it doesn't work out the way that we decided it should work out, like we're mad, we're upset, our feelings are hurt. And we also then create these false narratives that are not even true. Like, I had decided that person doesn't care about me at all. He's toxic, all this stuff. When, yeah, he may not have been being the best friend, but you also had all these expectations on him that, girl, he didn't even sign up to fill. Honey, girl, like, you ever think about your past self and be like, whoo, baby girl? Or if you're listening, you're a guy, sir, bro, what were you thinking? And it's hard because you don't want to be hard on your past self because she was doing the best she could. Like, when I tell you sis was doing the best she could, she didn't know what else to do. She really liked this guy, and everything around her was telling her, if you like a guy, he should be your husband. Lord have mercy. But she didn't really think about the practical side of it. She just didn't think about it. But now she's older, hopefully wiser, and can move on in a different way and go about similar situations in a different way. Now, if I come across a guy I think is attractive and I might want to start liking, I don't go, wow, we should get married tomorrow. I may jokingly say that. And the power of life and death is in the tongue, so maybe I should stop saying that. This is a reflective moment. But when I meet a guy, it's not immediately, wow, what are our kids going to look like? It's like, hey, I met you. I'd like to see if I might want to even continue to talk to you. It's not even like, do I want to date you? It's like, do I want to get to know you? Once I get to know you, do I want to start dating you? Let's see. Do I want to start dating you? Cool. Do I want to go out with you? Do I want to be in a relationship with you? Do I want to get, it's like, if we don't honor here it is. We have to honor the stage that we're currently in and not think so far ahead that we hurt our own feelings when the current situation doesn't pan out the way that we had made up in our head. And not just that, it is incredibly presumptuous to think that everything has to go the way that you decided it was going to go. Because you don't have infinite knowledge. That is, again, why we need God. Going back to the guy I just talked about, I recently looked at his Instagram page. And mind you, all the things I had to go through to look at his Instagram page, it was sad. I don't follow him anymore. He doesn't follow me anymore. But I went to a page that I used to have that follows him still. It was a whole thing, and it was pathetic. I'm going to be honest with you, it was pathetic. And I went to go look at it because I was like, I wonder what he's doing nowadays. And I looked at it, and I was like, this is not the way I saw his life going when I planned our future together. And I was like, honestly, who was I to try to plan this person's life? Just think about it. Who are you to decide that this is how someone else's life should go? When really, I didn't make this person. And even if you do end up married, if I was with him, I am not his creator. I could help him in the things that God is calling him to. But as I looked at his Instagram page, I was like, this isn't what I thought God was calling you to. My bad. It made me really realize, I am so human. I couldn't have seen the way things were going to go. And I shouldn't have been able to. That's not even what God wanted me to do in so many ways. But even when I do find someone who I'm like, that's my husband, and we get married and all that stuff, I cannot, I'm not his creator. I cannot put that pressure on myself to be like, oh, this is all that God is calling you to be. I can't make that up myself. He has to know that for himself with God and his relationship. And I need to know who I need to be for myself. And we can encourage that in each other. And God can even speak to us on behalf of each other. But the root of who we need to be has to come straight from God. I don't think we're supposed to tell other people who to be or tell other people how to live their lives. All you can do is point them back to God. Point them back to the Bible. Point them back to a source higher than you, better than you. Because we literally don't know anything. So when I talk about who hurt you, sometimes it's you, the ideals you made up, and the things that God actually had work out. And that is how we end up hurting ourselves. From these realities that we create in our heads. Another reality I created in my head that really is still something I like had to work through is when you when you think that other people are thinking negative things towards you. Have you ever had a situation where like I did something dumb and now everybody thinks this? You don't know what everybody think. Take that off of you. Why do you, and first of all, why does it matter what everyone else thinks? That's the first thing. Second, why does it, like, you don't know what everybody else is thinking. Again, you are only human. All you can worry about is like, man, I tripped. That sucks. Oh, well, and move on with your life. Like, we take so much time to think about what other people think. So we make up what other people are thinking. Then sometimes we make up what our circumstances telling us based on the things that happened and then decide how it should have gone. Like there's all this, I guess the root of this actual conversation that we're having is stop putting it all on you to figure everything out. And I think once you do that, and once you know that, yo, I'm just out here vibing and following God and trying to figure it out, you can get hurt a lot less easier because you don't blame people for other things. You just like, God, let's talk about this one because this didn't go the way I had anticipated. So let's talk about this one. And also, it just allows so much less space for hurt because even when things happen from God, like not by God's hand, I guess is the best way I want to say it. But even when things happen, it's like, hey, God, I know you love me. And I know you have my best intentions at heart. So why just go down that way? Like, it's space to ask questions. There's space to know more. There's space to understand it. But at any time I experience hurt or any time I experience trauma or any time I see the fruit of trauma, like, that is when I need to say, who hurt me? Like, for real, where did this come from? Finding the root is just so important. And so as you go through your week, as you go about your life, I just really encourage you to think, for real, who hurt you? And not even in a funny way. Like, yo, who hurt me? Like, why do I do that? Why did I react like that? Little things will show you who hurt you. And so that is just so important to do and so important to focus on. And that's all I really wanted to talk about today is who hurt you and remind you to ask yourself that question. And so there it is. That's what I wanted to talk about today. If you have any questions, any thoughts, anything else you'd want to hear about, let me know. You can comment on this video if you're watching on Instagram. You can DM us on Live with Purpose Pod on Instagram, on Threads. You can follow me personally, Lisa K. Satchel, on all social media. And let's just talk about it. Like, listen, we gonna make it out. We gonna figure this thing out together. That is the purpose of this podcast. My whole thing is as long as you're alive, you have purpose. We're always pushing towards something. We're always moving towards something. And it may look different in different seasons. Even just now, I talked about work. I talked about having a bae. I talked about like all this stuff, all these areas of life that can just get complicated. But we're going to try to uncomplicate them together and just work through them and grow in them. So I hope today helped you. I hope today spoke to you. And I appreciate you for listening. I appreciate you for watching. And we'll see you next time. Bye.